Zongpo, I am Devya Subedi, a 9th grader at Peljorling Higher Secondary School, Tershling Samsi. Today I am going to share you all a folk tale called Princess Dorjimo. I know the title sounds a bit off, but if you tag along till the end, I promise it's going to be interesting. So let's scoop in. Princess Dorjimo was born to a great king named Sergei. Although she had everything in life, from good food and clothes to butlers and maids, but the only thing missing in her life was good looks. She had a much wrinkled skin. She was only 21 years old, but she looked like a 70-year-old woman. She had dark spots all over her face, and she indeed felt really ugly. Even her father, the king, was embarrassed to have a daughter like her, so he locked her up in a room where no one could see her. Only the selected maids were allowed to provide her with new clothes and accessories, and some butlers escorted her with food every day. One fine day, the king called his trusted minister to his cabin. He said, "I have called you here to discuss about my daughter." The minister replied, "Yes, your majesty, what did you want to discuss about your daughter?" The king said, "You know that the princess is old enough to marry now. She is very ugly, so no rich prince would like to marry her. Instead of keeping her in the palace, it's better if we marry her off to some poor man who would not complain or show her off to the world. So please find a poor man as a husband for my daughter." The minister nodded and walked away. The minister returned to the palace a week later with a man along his side. The man looked poor since all his gold was ripped, and he looked like he hadn't slept or eaten anything for many days. The king ordered the maids to bring the princess. The poor man was indeed really happy to serve the king, but he was also stunned by looking at the princess. But he reluctantly agreed to marry her since the king promised him the position of a minister and a big house after their marriage. Soon after, the man and the princess were married. They lived in the house the king had built for them. The house had 7 rooms, and the king had asked the man to keep the princess in the 7th room and always lock it. The man did as the king had said. The man was now a minister. He had all the wealth and power he always dreamed of. But the whole village and even his other colleagues, the other ministers, wanted to see his wife, so they planned a plot to set him up. That night, the ministers had a get-together. All the ministers were present with their families except for him. One of the ministers found that very weird, so he spoke his mind to the others. "This man is very suspicious. He never brings his wife to any parties or get-togethers. Instead of bringing her, he locks her up in a room. She might be very beautiful or very ugly." Another minister said, "Yes, and have you guys noticed a key in his hands? He always carries these wherever he goes." Another man said, "Why don't we give him some alcohol? Once he gets drunk, we will leave him here, snatch the keys, and go to his place." All the other ministers agreed, and they started forcing the man on alcohol. He was drunk, so they left him there, took the keys, and went to his house. They found all the other doors unlocked, except for the 7th one. They unlocked the 7th door with the key and saw the most beautiful woman ever. The ministers returned to their houses with satisfaction, finally knowing the reason why the man never brought his wife to any parties or get-togethers. When the man was all right, he returned home, and when he saw the woman in the 7th room, he was also really surprised. Soon after, the king found out about this, and he called the man and the princess to the palace. He asked the princess, "Dorjimo, my daughter, how did all of this happen? How did you transform into this gorgeous lady?" The princess replied, "I did nothing, father. I just prayed to the God wholeheartedly. I have wished and prayed all my life to become beautiful, and finally, after all the sufferings I have gone through, my wish is granted. This is the power of belief in God, father," said the princess. This is how pleasantly the story ends. The moral of the story is, if we practice good faith in God with a pure heart and good mindset, any kind of miracle can happen to anyone. To achieve anything, we must believe in ourselves, our wishes and dreams first. This story was narrated to me by my Dzongkha teacher, and I'm very grateful to her. Thank you.